My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life-changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima Jope, a partner for those that are ready to take their life-changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. Welcome back. Today is yet another one with Michael Dorang. Michael reminds me of myself. 4.5 years ago, I came online. But before then, 6 years ago, before then, I started my business. So 10 years ago, I was in the same spot where Michael helps his people come from. I was in a job. I'd been at it for 4 years. And I knew from day one that this was not it. I just knew that I wasn't supposed to have a job. But my dad said you had to have a job, be an engineer, be a lawyer, be a doctor, or you had failed. And so I was really doing this job for my dad. Subconsciously, I was just scared of what my dad do if I left my job. And so I stayed at this job, I kid you not, for 4 years, and I didn't like the job. It looked like I was progressing. I was getting promoted. I was getting to the next level. So the bills were being paid. So I got in this place of having the gold and wanting to throw it away. And it was very hard for me because the bills were being paid and I was having a decent life. And I was able to buy a car and go see my parents and get a nice apartment and all of those things. But then every day that I stayed at this job, the more I understood that I didn't need to be there. The problem is I didn't know where to start. Leave my job and then start where? I had this big dream of being Oprah, but I was like, but I don't have what it takes to be Oprah. And so I was so focused on the Oprah level that I missed the first step I could have been taking. And so I spent 4 years at this job. And every day that passed, I just hated it. I just hated it. And I remember one day I woke up and just quit. But that wasn't the luxury for Michael because Michael woke up 26 years later and his company showed him the door. If that would have happened to me, I don't know what I would have done because I woke up and said, you know what? I am willing to walk away. And I just walked away, even though I didn't know everything that I was going to do. And I kind of figured it out step by step, what I was going to do. But like in Michael's place, you have this job for 26 years, you know something is off, but you can't get yourself to leave. And the company decides to show you the back door. I don't know what I would have done in that moment. And so Michael gets himself to answer the question, who is Michael? Now without a job. When I read his story, he said, I felt like I was standing on a rug and someone pulled it from underneath me and I was now barefooted on hot ground. And I don't want to preempt Michael's story, but I feel like this is a very common place. You get the job, you're excited, you get into that management position and realize, this doesn't feel like it. But the money is coming, you're paying the bills, the family is happy, and so you stay stuck in this place. And God help you one day you don't become Michael. They don't show you the door and force you to find who you are, your identity, and start from there. The work that Michael does really is getting you from the place where you are. Is it you're just unfulfilled? Is it you're just unhappy? You're like, there has to be more than this? Or is it you've been shown the back door, the exit, and you're being forced to find your identity besides the job? Whichever one it is, I am wanting to go there with Michael today. And the reason I gave this introduction is because I want you to get a friend involved. Who could you share this with that would find it absolutely life-changing? Who do you know that is stuck in a job they hate? Who do you know that just lost their job of 40 years and they're like, what is my name? What do I even like? What is my purpose on this planet? The truth is we're all born with a purpose. And the farther and farther away you get from it, the more it will come back for you. And one day, this purpose will get tired of you and to slap you in the forehead and say, hey, I need you to find me. That's what happened for Michael. And one day, that is what is coming for you. It also happened for me. And so we can't wait for when it will happen for you, but it's coming. Michael, welcome to the show. I'm excited to be chatting today.
Thank you, Prima. That was quite the introduction. And yes, that is what happened to me. I was in a career for 6 years. When I started my career, I absolutely loved it. And when the company at the end of 26 years showed me the door, it was devastating, but it turned out to be the absolute best thing that could have happened to me. During that journey, I learned to hate my job. Absolutely hated it. Like there were points in time where, like, when I would get up in the morning and I would shower in the morning to get ready to go to the office, I would be physically ill.
Wow.
Because I didn't want to be there anymore. But I was also in that spot where I didn't think I would be able to do anything else. So what I do now as a career mindset and burnout coach is I help people to get through that spot so that they can have different possibilities. So they can either learn to love their job again, they can refine their passion, they can find the reason why they took that job to begin with, or they can find the strength and the self-leadership to move on and to find something new.
Someone who's listening to us and going, I wonder if this is my message, because the way that this podcast is structured, really, every expert that comes here is carrying a message or the how for the person listening. And so the person who's listening is someone that feel called for more. They know that they need to be doing more in their life. They feel a calling on their name, but they don't know the how to do the thing they are being called to do. They don't know what that step one looks like. Or they already started the journey, and that how just has a way of disappearing at every step. You reach here and you're like, okay, so what's the next step? And what's the next step? And so there is everybody here that is called to more, or they're called for more, but they find themselves lost in the how am I supposed to get there? And so my hope is that your message is because it exists because somebody's crying for it. Somebody in their corporate job and they're like, I do not know if there's anything possible for me outside of this. And so if somebody was listening and going, if this is my message, what needs to be happening in their life for them to qualify to be the recipient of this message?
Well, in order to really take hold of the things that I talk about, first of all, the person needs to know that they are in a place where they're not happy, and they need to be motivated to get to a place where they can be happy and excited about what's going on. And then I can take that and work with them to try and find the behaviors that need to be modified, the mindsets, the way of thinking that they have gotten trapped into. But it really all starts with having them get in touch with their value systems. So what I have seen time and time again is that people get caught up in the corporate culture that doesn't exactly align with their values, and they keep getting pulled away from their personal values, and things keep moving, and they need to get back to their own personal values to figure out exactly what they want to do and whether they can do that within the structure that they've built for themselves already.
Okay, so unfulfilled, unhappy, you feel like something is off with what you're doing. Maybe you even hate your job, or maybe you're just bored. You don't feel like it excites you. You're no longer excited to get out of bed and go to the job. Or you already, like me, have checked out. At some point, I checked out. And I was physically at the job, and mentally, I was listening to Oprah. Mentally, I was listening to Tony Robbins. Mentally, I knew I had to come online. I just didn't know like what's the first step, but I would be at my job, and 90% of my time, I would be thinking about myself as Oprah on the stage, and I'd be like, I don't know where to start. But I was mentally checked out. And so if you're this anywhere between mentally checked out to bored to unfulfilled to unhappy to confused to lacking clarity and meaning out of what you're doing, this is your episode. Michael, am I right in saying that? Okay, cool. Let's go to the process.
Oh, yes. Yes.
How do we move from this state of confusion to the state of clarity where we know the first step? Because it's possible to just stay looking on the last step and never take that step. Like me, it took me 6 years to take the step. And so what's that process from complete out, like really stuck or confused or unclear or unhappy, to a point of clarity where I know what my next step is or what my first step out of the frustration is?
Well, you start building habits that create a good self-leadership. So, especially in the sort of hustle culture that the world, particularly in North America, where I am, everybody is, you have to work. And there are people that are working like 16, 18 hours a day, but not really getting anywhere. So, learning how to take a step back from that and having the tools that I can sort of teach people to take those self-leadership skills, to be able to set boundaries, to be able to say no when someone comes up and says, "Oh, I need this right away." Just having the maturity and the inner strength to say, "Okay, I have this much on my plate right now. If you put this in, what's going to fall off? And what can I let go of in order to do what I want to do?" And once you get into that place where you are then being able to think. So all of these things really start with being able to take care of yourself within the situation that you find yourself.
I want to go to the I got out, changed my phone, I changed my internet. So let me first reboot this and then we continue. I don't know if that was on my side or your side, but I lost you. But if it was coming from you, it might be okay. But just so we are sure, let's redo that part of the process, because now we're on process. Okay. So whoever is responsible will cut out this part where I'm jumping in and out. Okay. All right, Michael. Michael, I know that you do have a process. You have the BMG or BGM. You do have a BMG process.
Yep.
For leadership that you've created to move people from like a state of confusion to a state of complete clarity. Would you be happy to help us through that system right now so we can kind of see how you do what you do?
Yeah. BMG stands for the 3 main pillars of my program. And it's a 12-week program that I take people through. It starts with looking at your beliefs and values so that we have a good base to start building your new life on. So once you get in touch with your beliefs and values, once you know what your beliefs and values are, then we can start building on that. The second pillar is the M, which stands for mindset. So it's the way that you think, the way that you approach problems, the way that you bring your own creativity, the way that you bring your own experience into what you're doing. And then finally, the G is for goals and goal setting, to make sure that you are setting proper goals, to make sure that you are setting goals that you can achieve, but are still pushing you so that you have the growth that you need to stay fulfilled. So once we get these 3 things nailed down, then it really gives you a really good base for moving forward to deciding whether you want to stay in the situation that you're in or whether you want to move out and find something new.
I wonder if you would like to say more, like the beliefs and values. Some of us, or most of us, like for me, I had beliefs that didn't serve me. I believe that if I quit my job, my dad wouldn't love me. I believe that if I quit my job, my dad would say I've failed. I believe that if I quit my job, I wouldn't get a better thing. I didn't know if the business would work, and so I didn't want to make a mistake. I had so many beliefs that didn't serve me. And I'm just wondering if you would like to give us like a little bit more meat about the beliefs and values and how they affect us, the mindset as a piece, and how it affects us, and what you're doing behind the scenes to help with the mindset piece, even the goal setting. I wonder if you'd be willing to give a little bit of more meat and maybe more action to the listener about the entire process and how they can benefit from it. Because personally, I just had all the wrong beliefs and I had no idea that they were affecting me and had no idea how to turn them around. Didn't even know my values to begin with. So I feel like I need a little bit of more context there. Because when I was in my job, I had no idea about these things. Like if you could have said to me, we're going to check your beliefs and values, we're going to check your mindset and set some goals that will help you get where you're going, I would have been like, huh? What? How? I had no idea. So we need a little bit more meat about this BMG so that people can tangibly see like meat on bone.
Oh, sure. Well, beliefs and values is something that I don't think a lot of people truly understand. Because a belief is really just a thought that you think over and over and over and over and over again, and it becomes ingrained. And when our beliefs lead us to our values. But the thing is, a lot of people think, well, I have my set of values and it's going to serve me for like my entire life. But what they don't understand is that values, about 90% of the values that we have come to us from other people. They come to us from our parents. They come to us from, our circle of friends. They come to us from teachers, from religious leaders, from just the people that we are around and our culture in general. So about 90% of our values come from outside. So they're very flexible. Our values could change as we grow in the different situations. Like the values that you had with your circle of friends as a teenager are not the same values that you have as an adult where you enter the workforce. They change. So you need to be able to periodically look at your values, like you said, and see which ones actually serve you and which ones you can get rid of. And when you are talking about things like beliefs and values, they're the basis for what we set up as habits. So we can readjust all of those things by breaking our old habits and creating new ones around our new beliefs. Does that help?
It does, Michael. It helps. I'm just wondering because when I was in my job, I didn't even know what my values were. So is that like a set of things to consider? Like, how do I even know my values? Like, I don't want to underestimate how ignorant I was when I was in the place of being stuck at my job because I didn't even know why was I feeling like that? Why was I checked out? What did I believe that was bringing me to the point? What were my values? Like, how do we know what our values are if we don't? Because there's a human being who's listening, they don't know their values. They don't know why they are conflicted. They don't even know how to find their values. So maybe let's help them as the action point there. Because the problem is that your beliefs and systems and your values are not incongruent to where you're at. But the tangible piece I would want us to give them is more like, okay, how do I even know what my values are? Is there a way we can show people where to look?
I have a couple of worksheets that I use in my processes to
Mm,
help people find their values. But it's
mm,
really looking at the patterns that not only your conscious thinking, but also your subconscious thinking have been
mm,
creating in your life. So if you look at the patterns, if you look at the things that you surround yourself with, like the physical things you keep around you all the time, if you
mm,
look at the dreams, your dreams and goals that you have, if you look at the things that you spend your money on, all of these things are going to point you to your beliefs and your values. And it's not always that we are thinking consciously about these things. A lot of it is subconscious, which is why a lot of people actually don't know what their values are, because
mm.
it's not something that they consciously are in touch with. It's their subconscious that's doing all of this. And this is where we get into, the habits that have formed around these values. And if you have a value that doesn't serve you, but you have a habit that reinforces that value, then you need to break the habit.
Okay, so what I've picked from you is where are you spending your time? Where are you spending your money? Where are you putting your attention?
Yep.
Those are
Mm-hmm.
some of the places to look to kind of go, what are my values? And I
Mm-hmm.
used to hear something when I was in the job called the something 7 F's. I don't know if I can recall them now, but they used to tell us faith, family, fitness, friends, I don't know. So there was something like marriage, there was wealth, there was health, but they were all formed in F's. And I used to think that probably that's kind of the place people go to pick their values. Because I imagine if I am saying, where am I spending my time? What am I spending my money on? Where am I
Mm-hmm.
spending my attention on? I still have to have a checklist of, okay,
Yeah.
my value could be family, it could be love, it could be health, it could be business. Do you see what I mean? Like I feel like I need a
Yeah.
checklist to go, oh yes, I spend more time on this thing. Oh yes, I think does that make sense?
It does.
Mm,
It does. And that is one of the ways that you start seeing the patterns that you
mm,
have formed in your life
mm.
that are surrounding your values.
Yes.
So, yeah. So when you are looking at things like your goals and dreams, like what do
Mm,
you really want to do with your life?
mm,
And you are looking at like the different segments, like you were talking about all of the F words, the
mm,
family, friends, finances, when you start looking at those,
mm,
values really are like a little one word, two-word belief about like each one of those categories. So if you look at like family, well, what does family mean to you? What are the values that you place on family? Safety, camaraderie, affection,
mm,
So these are the things that we look at. And finances, so safety, future building, wealth, so these are the values that we put on finances. When you start looking at these pieces of your life and how they all fit together, what
mm,
you're going to see is that a lot of those values that you're assigning to different categories are going
mm,
to start overlapping. And so you're going to see those patterns
mm.
are going to start to emerge. If you sit down and just write all this stuff out, if you make that checklist, you're going to see that these patterns are going to be pretty evident once you start writing these things out. So then you can take that, and it has to do really with the meaning, with the belief that you're assigning to it. And that's where you start with your values. And then you can take a look at each one of those values and say, does this serve me? And where did I get it from?
Mm,
So if you are someone who is not particularly religious, but a couple of your values you find out that you got from the church or from whatever religion you happen to be in when you were growing up, then you need to decide, does this still serve me? And is this the meaning I want to place on that value? And if it's not, because values are just thoughts and beliefs are just thoughts that you keep thinking over and over and over again, you can change your thought. You can change your belief and your value. It's not an easy process, but it's certainly doable.
So,
and then
so even on just the part of beliefs and values, what
yeah.
I'm thinking is more like, what are your beliefs around the values you hold right now? I think I just remembered what we were told: faith, family, finances, fitness, friends, fun, and future. So going through that list may help you identify where you're spending your time, where you're spending your money, where you're spending your resources, which means those things are important to you. And if your top 3 things are not things that you really care about, the question is, why am I spending so much time on them? I don't care about them, which is now dropping us to the mindset piece. So then now that we know what the values are, and we can challenge our beliefs in relation to where we're spending our time and energy, get me the mindset piece and how it connects to now the beliefs and values up in the first one. Give me more beef on the mindset piece.
Yeah, well, they that's exactly the steps that you do. You define what your values are and what you want your values to be. Because values are just thoughts that we keep thinking over and over and over again. Then we get into mindset. Then we get into like how you are thinking about what's going on in your life and how it relates to those values. And if you want to build a new value, if you want to build a new belief, it's a thought that you just keep thinking over and over again. So you create that thought process, which is, mindset is just a way of thinking. That's all it is. We, as coaches and as people who deal in this area, we use mindset a lot when it's really just, it's how you think. So when you are able to change how you think, to create new thoughts, to create new habits, then you're going to move away from the things that are causing you pain.
I'm looking at your formula now, the BMG formula, and I'm thinking it's like a thread, and I don't know which comes first than the other. But when I look at the goals can't be set if I don't have values. But maybe the goal is more like, where do I want to go? And maybe what values do I need to get there? Or maybe what beliefs do I need to get there? So I think the confusion I have is in what order do I need these things? Do I need the values first and then the beliefs later? Do I need the goals first? Like, I'm here right now at my job. I hate it. I would love to be happier. I probably don't know what it looks like, but I'd like to have more money, more time, more whatever the thing I want over here. And I have values and beliefs and misaligned goals in the middle that are keeping me stuck. And so I'm just wanting to understand how the thread moves between the 3 pillars of the BMG framework, or if it's in any random order that they can work together.
They work together. Once I start with values because that is kind of a baseline, but people already have goals. So when I start working with someone, they already have goals. So once we get in touch with their values, those goals may change, but they may not, but they're already in place. So then when we start working on the mindset, it is, again, going to be directed by those goals. So they do all work together, and they all sort of work simultaneously. I just, I had to put them in some sort of order. So it was values, mindset, and goals. But you work on all of them pretty much all at the same time without realizing it. But that's really what's going on. And when someone is looking at their goals, and like it's more important really to look at the process of attaining their goals, because a lot of people have these great big dreams and these things that they want to do, but what they don't look at is what is necessary in order for me to achieve that. What steps do I have to take? And that's where mindset comes in. Because one thing that we know from psychological studies and all kinds of things, and like the law of attraction and manifestation and all that, although the woo stuff as well, is that you don't attain the goal itself, you become the person that the goal already belongs to.
That's really good, because I was going to say, I believe it's who do I need to become? So you have these goals over here, and I think the first question, you're really helping this human being, and you can let me know if I'm off here, but I feel like the first thing you're dealing with is, okay, you have these goals over here, but let's check the beliefs and the mindset. Like, let's check the values here. Are these goals aligned to even the things you believe? And then off of that, you're like, okay, you have your goals over here, you have your beliefs over here, you have the mindset over here. So what do we need to believe? What lens do we need to hold? In other words, who do we need to become to get over here, if that's the goal you want, or even to get over there, if now we've decided that it's the goal? And so what I'm really picking up is that the clarity of the person you need to become for the thing that you ultimately want is the whole premise or process or principle of the work. Is like the becoming of the vessel that needs to carry whatever goals we have going on. Is that fair enough?
Yeah. Yep, that's a pretty good description of it. And like when you have these goals, they're sort of based on your values. So you need to look at your values to figure out which goals are actually going to serve you, which goals are going to support the values that you have. And then you look at the mindset so that you can become the person who would achieve those goals.
Wow. That's good. That's really
good. So it's kind of a circle. It all works together. And there's really like not one place where you can say, yes, I need to start here, because everything that you do is influenced by everything else you do. It's kind of like, when I work with someone who is struggling with burnout, it's not just their job that's affected. When you are being affected in one part of your life, you're being affected in all parts of your life. So, if they're unhappy at their job, they're unhappy in their relationship, they're unhappy in their society, they're just unhappy. So if I can make them get excited about their job again, if I can open up the possibilities to them being happy and joyful in what they're doing, it creates sort of a feedback loop so that they are happier in their relationships, they're happier with what they're doing, they're able to find their passion again. And it makes their entire life better.
I really love that, Michael. I'm just wondering, when I was stuck in my job, I was so fixated on step 1,000 that I couldn't see the one in front of me. And if there is someone right now starting their job going, I want the other thing, but they can't see the step in front of them, what would be what's your process around kind of seeing the step in front of me? Because for me, my problem really was, even if I could take the step in front of me, it's like I needed to see the whole staircase. And it was never there. It's never been there. And so give me your process of coping with the how, because I feel like the calling to step forward in your career or whatever life is bringing at you never comes with the how, but the desire is there. You want more, but the how never comes in the same, like kind of in the same envelope. I feel like the how always is on the side somewhere else, and you get this clear calling, this clear desire to live. That's like the how is hiding. It's never there. How do you cope with taking the step, not seeing the second step, just seeing maybe one, or I don't know, like I never saw more than one step. Even sometimes I never saw the step in front of me because I was fixated on the last thing which I wanted. Give me the process of going through that, because I feel like it's the scariest thing.
It can be. It can be. But one of my favorite sayings, one of my absolute all-time favorite sayings, is that you don't need to see the entire staircase. Just see the next right step and take that. So when part of setting good goals is to have a goal, but also to be able to break that goal down into smaller steps and chunk it down so that you are able to see little bits of having that goal and moving yourself towards that goal. Because it's not something that you're going to do tomorrow. You know, you're not going to reach that goal tomorrow. It's a process. So what you need to look at is, what can I do right now? What can I do today that's going to make me one step closer to that? Like, what's going to make me get there a little easier? And it's not that I want to go from here to here. Yep, I just want to go from here to here.
What is that step
if I do
one?
that, yeah, and if I do that, and if I do that, and if I do that, I'll get here. But I have to do this first, you know? So it's being able to look at these big goals and break them down into smaller, manageable pieces.
I have learned to brainwash myself, Michael, and this is going to be crazy, but I've learned to brainwash myself and say, the calling is for you. The movement, the saying of yes to whatever that higher level is for you. The how does not belong to you. And I have really decided the how does not belong to me. And if I can see that one step, I will put my foot there. And I will say, God, you're the one who knows where the other steps are. I have never seen more than one step, so I'm moving. But I have had to like brainwash myself into believing that the how does not belong to me. And it's worked, but it can be really hard, because it was really, really, really hard for me starting out to surrender that knowing, that controlling of the destination. I don't know if you have found any way around not like the unknown. I want to be an entrepreneur and I don't know what I don't know. And that unknown is just getting me crazy, stuck in the place where I am. Have you found ways around that? Because it used to be my biggest problem for being unclear was I wanted to know the how and the steps and the result, and it was never there. And so I was just stuck in a vacuum with my head on the ground saying, how? And until I realized the how wasn't coming, I didn't get out. And I feel like someone is stuck there right now in how? What's the way around when you don't know what's coming and you're like, I feel the calling, I feel the message, I'm moving?
No. Well, the biggest thing is that you have awareness of your big goal, but you have to let it go, because you have to deal with what is immediately in front of you. You know, so yes, you're going to get up to your big goal, but what you need to do immediately in front of you is take this step. You know, so when you are building that type of mindset, when you are building a mindset that's really based on growth instead of the end result, then you open up so many more possibilities. You know, because if all you think about is this one big goal, you know, you're not thinking about the process to get there. You're not thinking about the how. You're not using your creativity down here. You're trying to meet this goal that, quite frankly, you're not ready for, because you're not the type of person that would get that goal, because if you were, you'd already have it. So you need to become that person step by step. So you need to use your creativity down here, and you need to be able to think in terms of, like, one of the best words in the English language is the word yet. It's like, I'm not able to get up here yet. Yet.
I love how you're bringing
can't.
that. Carry on. But I love how you're bringing that. You wanted to give more. Please do.
Yeah. So when you're looking at these things, like when you have a big goal and you break it down into little steps, each one of those little steps also becomes a goal. But like I said before, instead of moving up the entire staircase, you're taking one step. And once you reach that goal of taking that one step, you can celebrate that. So you can create the self-esteem that you need because you took that one step, because you became this new version of you by taking that one step. Even if it's a little tiny change, you still changed. And then you take the next step and you celebrate that and becoming the new person that you need to be until you've taken enough steps that you're going to reach your goal.
I love this. It's like I always tell my audience, the best kept secret, sometimes the best thing God can do for you is keep your secret. Because quite honestly, most people are not ready to stop being the secret, because like I always say, sometimes the best thing God can do for you is bring no one to your course or your program or your video, because it wouldn't help anyone. If 1 million people went to that, you'd be dead in a minute. And so sometimes when people come to the best kept secret, I go, I am so happy you're a best kept secret. Let's first fix this thing before people discover you. I think it's really a blessing when no one knows you, because you can make mistakes and you can refine and you can become I think it's just perfect. God does it in such a way that it is just perfect, that when you're ready for the fame, it lands. Otherwise, imagine if we were all to get millions of people looking at our work, and the kind of refinement I've personally gone through, I wouldn't have wanted one more person to see my work, because it was ugly and it was unclear and it was so vague. And I'm like, I'm so glad I wasn't famous. Like, so glad no one saw this, because it was so bad. Michael, I know you help individuals, you hold their hand through this process of moving from, like, I think it's like darkness to complete clarity. Tell me more about your containers in the back. What do you have that people can think about if they are thinking about learning more from you?
Well, if people wish to get in touch with me, I am on social media. So they can find me on Facebook. They can find me on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn. I will confess I do have a TikTok account, although I don't dance.
Wow. You have a TikTok account. I don't have one.
I do, although I don't post everything on TikTok, but I do some posts on TikTok. So if people want to find me, I'm on basically like all of the big social media platforms. I also have a Facebook group for people who want to learn more that I give some extra additional information in, and that is called Surviving to Thriving Mindset and Motivation.
Moving from surviving to
so
thriving.
They can join my Facebook group. Yep.
So Facebook group, social media, Mike Dorang. We'll have everything in the show notes. Be sure to click there and find Michael. Michael, I've had an amazing time chatting with you. What would you say your last words of wisdom to someone who's stuck listening to us? Middle management, corporate, hates their job, unmotivated, unfulfilled, maybe not checked out, but we'll be there soon. Yeah. They're building out of alignment. Something is not right and they have no idea what it is, but they know there's more. They know there's something out there for them, and They landed on this video somehow. And they are kind of in the last minute, they're like, oh, okay. They found themselves at this point of the video and they're like, what do I need to know if I missed it all? What do you want them to remember?
Two things. First off, it's not as bad as you think. And you can do something about it. You might need a little help, but you can do something about it. And I always like to leave with a saying from Preston Smiles, who is another coach of great renown. And one of the things that he says has like struck me when I first heard it, and it's something that I keep very close to me. And what Preston Smiles says is that I am whole, complete, and enough as I am, but I am unfinished. So to me, that says that no matter what I'm going through, I'm good. You know, even if it hurts, I'm still good with myself, but I can still change. I can still grow. So I hold on to that.
The thing that I would like to end with is there's no one that I have met who's here by mistake. Like, you have a purpose. You were created, put here. I don't know what you believe in. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. Who do you believe in? Mother Nature? Higher calling? I don't know. But you were here, put here on this planet for a reason. There's a purpose that is assigned to your name. And as long as you're still doing everything else but that purpose, there'll be a silent cry in your soul that says, why are you abandoning me? And so if you find yourself unfulfilled, unhappy, checked out in a place that you think you should be, if you find yourself being shown the back door 30 years later, like Michael, if you find yourself divorced or in any unfortunate circumstance, that is sometimes, most times, your soul cries saying, why are you abandoning me? Why aren't you listening to me? Why aren't you following the things you love to do? Why aren't you answering the calling on your name? Unfortunately, I think it was just like that. And this podcast exists because there's a calling on my name that says everyone is stuck in the how, and your job is to provide a platform that gives the how. And so Michael carries the how for individuals in their jobs, stuck or confused or just checked out, wondering, what is the next step for me? How do I get the goals I want to get to? How do I find my purpose? How do I find my passion? How do I get in alignment with the person that I know I'm called to be? So if you have the cry in your heart, that is why the answer is in Michael's heart, because you have a cry, you have a need. So every expert that comes here really is answering a cry in the world. That's really just how it works. And so the biggest thing you can do for me, for Michael, for the calling on my name is, one, is this your message? Because if it's your message, you know it in your bone marrow that it's your message. Get in the show notes and get involved. However you can connect to Michael, do that. But two, if you know someone that is lost and is looking for clarity, I'm inviting you to be the vessel of this message. Someone in a job, middle management, or whatever position they are in, and they're just unfulfilled, they're unhappy. They're nearly checked out. They have these big goals, but they feel like they're just stuck. Who do you work with that is always talking about everything, but they just don't like their job and they have other dreams, which it's like someone has got their dreams. It's like a silver, I don't know, like a silver thing, which is valuable. They put on their shelf to gather dust. And every time you meet them and you're talking to them, it's like they pull it off the shelf, they dust it clean, and they tell you about their dream. But when you're gone, they get this silver and they put it back to gather dust. Like, who do you know like that? This is your invite to lift this message and drop it in their private space. That is how we will promote this show. This is how we'll move the messages. One human being. So who do you love, appreciate, and want to bless with this message? Take a minute, think about that person. And I want you to press the share button and drop it in their private space. If you're here and someone sent this to you, you sure don't want to break the string. My goal, my mission my biggest, grandest goal is that I will be at a place where experts will feel no need to talk about how amazing they are, and will get in the back and serve and change lives and do the work they are called to do, and not try to be better marketers, not try to be better salespeople, not try to be better TikTok dancers, but go back and serve, because this is the work they are called to do. They're not called to talk about themselves, they're called to serve. And so you sharing this message allows me to achieve that. They can serve more people if they don't have to do all the other 1,000 things to get someone in the door. And so if you're listening to this and someone shared it, it's on you to move this message. That's how we are marketing. That's how we are. This is our ads. I don't know any ads, any marketing that is better than human beings sharing a message that means something to them with another human being. So my friend, I'm trusting you to be the vessel for Michael's message and to share it with one person that you know, who shares it with one person, who shares it with one person, who shares it with one person. That is how Michael will get his message out in the world. Of course, it helps if you hit your app, whether it's on the phone, wherever the app is, and find a way to comment, find a way to subscribe, find a way to rate, find a way to review. You have no idea how much power you have over building this community. All of the power. There's me, who is just holding the platform. There is the expert who holds the how in their soul. But there is you who is listening, who is the vessel, the medium through which this message moves. And so everything you can do on your end is more helpful than I can begin to explain to you. So whatever is in your power to do, just trust the process and do it. Thank you for today. I appreciate you spending the time. Keep coming back, scroll through the titles and see which expert holds the answer that you're looking for. Because there'll be many experts, but not everyone is your expert. Keep scrolling around, look at the titles, look at them again, read through the bios, and find the person whose message is the answer to the next step that you feel called to. Appreciate you. Have a beautiful day. Michael, thank you so much for pouring into the community. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Prima, for inviting me and for having this platform. It's a wonderful way to get all of this information out to people.
All right. Have a beautiful day, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the World's Best Kept Secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.